Episode 1 of Sirens begins with a woman named Michaela releasing a bird named Barnaby on a beach. The scene then shifts to a police station in Buffalo, New York, where we see a young woman named Devon leave the building. She sends a sister Simone multiple texts which happen to be just the word sirens, but unfortunately she receives no response. She goes home and finds an edible arrangement of fruit waiting for her on her doorstep. Inside the house is her father watching loud TV inside a small, messy house. They realize the arrangement is from Simone and Devon gets angry. She takes it and hops on a bus. After that, she gets on board a boat and even ends up having sex with one of the crew. After the boat ride though, Devon starts a long walk to a place called Cliff House since she can't actually afford a taxi. At this point, we then shift perspective to Simone, who is in a fancy villa by the sea. She sees Devon's messages and heads inside where a man named Ethan is in her bed. Michaela tells her about setting the bird free and they discuss their plans for the day and the upcoming gala. Simone even helps Michaela sex her husband Peter in anticipation of them sleeping together that night. Michaela then speaks to another staff member in charge of more birds, and we learn she helped rehabilitate Barnaby. The employee shows her a tracker of Barnaby's movements. She's then introduced to a new bird named Winston. Simone gets dressed and begins checking details around the house, making a fuss when certain flowers are blue instead of white. She's also shocked to find Devon at the front entrance. Devon greets her by throwing the fruit from the edible arrangement straight at her. She rants at Simone for sending the arrangement in response to learning that her father has early onset dementia. She also realizes that Simone has changed. She's removed her tattoos and even gotten a nose job. Simone tells her to leave, and when Devon refuses, Simone tells her to wait in the guest house. Devon continues on admitting it's been really hard taking care of their father and she needs help, but Simone claims it's not her problem. They continue to argue when Michaela arrives and an awkward introduction ensues. Michaela even tells Devon to stay, which Devon eventually accepts. Michaela and Simone leave and head to the event at the main house where many guests are waiting. Devon then calls on Ree, her boss, and also someone she sometimes sleeps with. In fact, she threatens to tell his wife about the affair in order to get Ree to go and check on her father. Devon tries to head out and the house AI warns her smoking isn't allowed on the property. At this point, she heads out into the woods and meets Jose, who takes her to a part of the property with no cameras, where she can actually have a smoke. Others on the staff also hang out here, too, eating carbs, which apparently aren't allowed on the property either, and just generally having banter. On her way back to the guest house, Devon comes across Ethan, who mistakes her to be the staff. He's surprised to learn Simone has a sister, and they enter the main house, and Simone begs Devon to go back, but she doesn't. Michaela kicks off this event with a poem though about the earth that everybody chants together. Devon calls it a cult, and Simone gets even more annoyed when she realizes that Devon told Ethan she was in foster care. They argue further, and Simone eventually leaves to speak to Michaela. Michaela and Simone take Devon aside and give her a check for $10,000. Michaela has also booked a room at an inn and a flight the following morning. Simone doesn't say anything and Michaela has Jose take Devon to set in. It's pretty crazy and Devon even has to sign an NDA. But Jose shows her some kindness. When he drops her off, she makes a move on him, but he says he has a family. This is actually a thing that Devon does and is talking to a text therapist about it. She then gets a video call from her father since Michaela is paying for Devon's stay. Devon winds up buying a dress. And that evening, she wears it and hits on a man named Jordan at the bar. They end up having sex on his boat. And afterwards, Jordan gives Devon a sweatshirt and she recognizes it as her sister's. It turns out he's actually the captain of the boat and he works for Ethan. Devon tells him that her sister is always trying to outrun her past and that she's really changed this time. Meanwhile, Ethan tells Simone he loves her and wants to know more about her. In retaliation, she says her mother died, but doesn't expand on why she was in foster care in the first place. And at the same time, Michaela is waiting for her husband Peter to show up, but he doesn't. She's awoken by a loud noise though, which turns out to be Barnaby, who smashes into Michaela's bedroom window. When Devon takes a peek from Jay's telescope, she sees Michaela holding Barnaby in bloody hands, which is where episode 1 of Sirens comes to an end. Episode 2 of Sirens begins with Devon swimming her way to Cliff House at night with a snorkel. Jose is notified about an intruder and sees Devon on the cameras. She makes it to Simone's room and tells her she wants to get out of there. Despite everything, Simone says she's happy and doesn't want to go back to Buffalo. The argument between them goes on for a while, and Devon reminds Simone that she wanted to be an attorney. And Simone bites back, pointing out how Devon sleeps with married men. Michaela turns up again and interrupts their conversation though. She hasn't been able to sleep and gets in bed alongside Simone. She also has Jose take Devon to the guest house, but he actually takes her to a police car instead, where Devon is arrested for trespassing. Back in Simone's bedroom, Michaela asks Simone why she never mentioned she had a sister. Simone simply says that Devon makes her sad. Michaela then asks if there's anything else Simone hasn't mentioned, and she simply retorts that Michaela knows everything about her. Meanwhile, Devon is surprised to find that even the policewoman here knows who Simone is. In the morning we see Peter Kell, who finally made it home. He comes across Patrice, the cook, and chats with her. In jail though, another fellow prisoner tells Devon about Rory and Sarah Kell. They're Peter Kell's kids from his first wife, Jocelyn. Apparently, people think Michaela killed Jocelyn because no one's heard from her. The woman also tells Devon that she was once in a cult, and Devon gets tips on how to get out. Michaela greets Peter in the morning, and they are soon joined by Simone, who gives him a schedule for the day. Peter doesn't want to do a photo shoot, but Michaela eventually convinces him to do just that. He then gives her a gift from Tokyo from a place called Magpie. Simone gives Jose and his team instructions to set up a funeral for Barnaby. She then gets a call from Magpie in Tokyo and asks them to send over a specific chocolate. Devon is then pulled out of her jail cell and taken to meet Michaela. Michaela points out that with her second DUI, Devon could actually go to jail for up to 4 years. Instead of that outcome, Michaela gives her an offer to just leave and go home straight away. Devon then puts on an act and asks Michaela to take her under her wing like she did with Simone. Michaela agrees to keep her for the weekend. Jose then takes Devon back to the guest house and tells her Michaela has bought new clothes for her, forcing Devon to dress like Simone. She then finds Simone and Michaela getting ready for the Vanity Fair photo shoot. Devon speaks to some other women and learns they are with Michaela in a wildlife preservation society. She then finds an open door and heads up a tower where Peter winds up smoking. He lets Devon smoke and also showers praise on Simone. Devon then brings up Peter's kids and first wife, which causes him to grow suspicious. Simone stays locked in a room crying on the floor for a long time. And while this is happening, Devon searches through Simone's room and realizes she hasn't been taking her medicine. She then sees Jordan, whose real name is actually Morgan, walking on the ground, and she calls him to get her phone back. She reveals she's undercover to get Simone out and then rushes to speak to Ree, who has been calling incessantly. Michaela winds up getting angsty without Simone and tells Jose to go find her since a eulogy for the bird is on Simone's phone. Ray tells Devon that he doesn't want to take care of her father for that long. She then sees a blonde woman running into the woods and cuts the call to follow. She sees Michaela's eulogy and watches her and Ethan go for a walk. Jose then finds Devon spying and tells her to follow. He takes her to Simone, who's still crying on the floor. Devon holds her and comforts her, which is where episode 2 of Sirens comes to an end. Episode 3 of Sirens begins with Simone waking up from a nightmare in Devon's guest house. Devon tells her she had a really bad panic attack, and Simone panics when she hears it's 7 a.m. and she's missed jogging with Michaela. This leads to another argument where Devon wants Simone to let Michaela fire her. She also admits about the DUIs and that she's been struggling with alcoholism, which is why she needs Simone. Simone runs out to find Michaela on her jogging track. Devon has told everyone that Simone had a bad stomach. Devon heads to the kitchen in the main house and strikes up conversation with the staff. Later, Peter sees Devon on the ground and calls her up to his tower for a smoke. They chat and Devon asks Peter how he actually met Michaela. He says Michaela's law firm was representing him during a merger. She had to step down from the case and he walked away from his marriage. He gives Devon the rest of his smoke and then leaves. Simone and Michaela return to the house and get back to work as usual. Peter comes across Simone and reveals he knows about her panic attack. He empathizes with her pain since he gets panic attacks as well. Michaela then calls Simone and shows her the 2 Magpie chocolate boxes. She claims the ribbons are different and says Peter was probably not in Japan. Peter arrived just as Simone leaves. Peter tells Michaela that he can't get in touch with Ethan, and Michaela says Ethan won't get in touch with Simone anymore. She then accuses Peter about not being in Japan, and Peter agrees, although he's sarcastic about it, and the truth is unclear. Devon finds herself in a car with Michaela's 3 female friends. They're out on a girls' day, but she doesn't remember how she actually got there. Back at Cliff House, Michaela calls Jose and demands to know if Peter had her locked out of his account. He refuses to admit anything, which prompts Michaela to actually fire him, but he said she can't fire him because he works for Peter. Of course, Simone updates Michaela on the Peter situation, who is actually buying weed. Michaela then talks to a lawyer about her prenup with Peter. He tells her that she'll need proof of Peter's affair to get out of the prenup clauses, which she doesn't actually have. Simone ends up getting caught by Peter though, who forces her to go clam fishing in the sea. He admits he wasn't in Japan, but he was actually attending the christening of his grandson. Apparently, his kids don't like Michaela, and she has tried to get him to sever ties with them. Devon finds herself taken for very expensive dress shopping. Michaela's friends tell Devon how Michaela saved all of them, and they're talking about how they all scored rich men when Jordan, whose real name we learn is Morgan of course, walks in and tells Devon she looks very pretty. Peter and Simone get along and Peter tells her how Ethan has a habit of getting with young girls and then ghosting them by Labor Day. They're sharing a joke when Peter suddenly kisses her. She backs away and gets on a cycle immediately. On her way back, she stops and sends Ethan a voicemail since he hasn't texted or called her back just yet. Michaela calls for an update and Simone tells her Peter isn't doing anything suspicious. Simone asks about Ethan, but Michaela says she hasn't heard from him, so Simone heads straight to Ethan's place. Devon is with Morgan, who tells her that he heard people really think Michaela killed Jocelyn. Calm to tell Simone she's coming there. However, it's Ethan who turns up at the house along with 2 people, none other than Simone's father and Ray. Apparently, Ethan went up to New York and couldn't contact anyone because he didn't carry the right charger. Simone is obviously confused here, but things become clear as Ethan gets down on one knee and pulls out a ring. Episode 4 of Sirens begins with a flashback to Simone's interview with Michaela for a position as an assistant. Simone looks quite different here, wearing casual clothes and sporting tattoos. Simone describes how she quit law school because it wasn't really for her. She only really pursued it because her mother once called her a future lawyer. Michaela and Simone then bond over their mutual traumatic pasts. Michaela takes her to Barnaby and then offers her the position. At this point, we then skip forward to the present where Ethan is proposing to Simone. Simone asks him why he thought bringing her father here was a good idea, and he replies that it's a grand gesture and he wants to commit to her. This is when Michaela enters and Bruce suddenly seems to recognize her. He hugs her and seems to mistake the girl for Devon's mother, Andrea. Michaela turns the attention back to the proposal, but Simone says she can't do this and runs away. Peter is making his clam chowder in the kitchen when he hears about the proposal from his staff. Simone enters in tears and the staff leave. Peter apologizes for the kiss again and Simone agrees to keep it a secret. Michaela heads to the main house and is told that a photographer from Vanity Fair is waiting for her. She tells him to wait and meet Simone instead. They have a heart-to-heart where Michaela describes how her life changed so much after marriage. And if she divorces Peter, she loses the preservation and the Avery. She then tells Simone she wants her to chair the foundation in New York, and agrees for all of them to stay. Michaela then finds Peter's personal phone in the kitchen and sees one number is being called repeatedly. She calls a number and realizes it belongs to Peter's son. Peter and Bruce then head inside. While upstairs, Simone tells Ethan he doesn't really know her. She said she last saw her father in court. Ray lost custody of her due to negligence and child abuse. Ethan doesn't seem to digest the fact that he's been broken up with. And outside, Devon is waiting with Ray and Morgan. This Peter apologizes to Michaela for not being able to have kids. He then reveals the truth about going to his grandchild's christening and Michaela says she knows and she understands. They make up but Peter slips up and reveals that Simone knew about it. Simone comes across Ethan here while looking for Devon and he's drunk and calls her a monster. The photographer, who's been waiting for Michaela all this while, then enters the room. He insists that Michaela see a photograph, and it's a picture of Peter kissing Simone, which is where episode 4 comes to an end. Episode 5 of Sirens begins with Simone waking up from a nap at the hospital. Devon is there, and they're waiting for news about Ethan, and Simone apologizes for not responding to Devon's Sirens text, and also for their argument the previous night. Devon agrees she needed to hear some of that, and Simone then asks about the times when Devon texted and she tells her how hard things were with their dad. Simone tells her she needs to leave that house and even invites Devon to stay with her in New York once she starts her new job. Devon doesn't take it up though, and Simone then encourages her to go with Morgan. Back home, Michaela is packing up all of Simone's things when the staff realize she's getting fired and begin to celebrate. Peter and Morgan join Devon and Simone at the hospital, and the girls have learned that Ethan has several broken bones. Devon and Morgan then head back to Cliff House, and Devon asks him when he's leaving for his cruise to Palm Beach. E says he's leaving at daybreak, and she finally accepts his request, and she agrees to see him after the gala. However, she doesn't find her father or Ray in the guest house. She finds Bruce standing right by the cliff and she pulls him away from the edge. They head out to look for Ray and find some of his things on the beach. Ally, Ray's wife, calls the phone and Bruce picks up. Devon is forced to take the call here and admit that she's with Ray. At the hospital, Ethan wakes up and gets angry when he sees Simone. He blames her for pushing him down the cliff, but Peter convinces him that it's all in his head. Simone and Peter then return home, and Simone finds herself in an eerily good mood. However, she gets a cold welcome from Michaela, who tells her to wait in her room while the gala rehearsal goes ahead. Simone is shocked to see all of her things packed up, and a photograph of her and Peter sits on top of the boxes. Michaela gets another shock though, when Peter reveals he's invited his kids and extended family to this gala. Michaela then goes up to Simone's room and tells her to leave. Simone tries to explain that it was all Peter and not her, but Michaela sees her as a threat to her marriage and wants the girl gone. Elsewhere, Bruce is getting fit in the tux for the gala, and Devon then tells him she wants to go sailing with Morgan, and he tells her to go, but he then calls her Simone and forgets what they were talking about. At this point, Missy, one of the staff members, arrives and tells them she's here to help them pack. Jose arrives with Simone to pick them up after, and Simone is in shock and doesn't respond to anything Devon says. Devon then gets a call from a police station and learns that Ray is there, but he's actually drunk. While they argue, Bruce speaks to Simone and apologizes for everything that went down in the past. He then tells her that Devon will be going away and that it will be him and her again. This is obviously terrible news for Simone, who ends up running away. When Peter finds out that Simone was let go, he asks Michaela for an explanation. She says Simone stole her earrings and she can't let Simone take what's hers. Back home though, Peter goes to Simone's room and pleasures himself. When he looks out the window, he sees Simone standing on the estate. He follows her down to the beach where Simone says she has something to say. Peter then makes a call to Jose gone wrong. Devon looks sheepish and walks away. Peter then arrives and pulls Michaela aside. He says he wants out of the marriage and reveals that he's destroyed the photo of him and Simone. Michaela points out how unfair the prenup is and that Peter is responsible for his relationship with his children, but Peter stands his ground and soon Simone enters the room in a striking gala dress. Michaela realizes what's happened and walks away. Devon then sees Simone and Peter and understands what's happened as well. When Devon asks about Michaela, Simone spouts the same dialogue Michaela used. If it doesn't serve you, let it go. Devon looks sad and says she'll be going home to take care of her father. She tells Simone that dropping out of college to take care of her was the best thing that she's done. Simone didn't serve her, but Devon didn't let go. Simone promises to see Devon again in the city, and they exchange I love you, and Devon leaves Simone to her fancy new life. On the boat back to the mainland, Devon sees Michaela and approaches her. Devon apologizes to her and asks what she's going to do. Michaela really doesn't know though, and Devon says she's going to get a place of her own, and Michaela advises her to cash that check for $10,000. Devon assures Michaela that she isn't a monster, and she tells Devon that neither is Simone. And as episode 5 comes to an end, we close on a shot of Simone standing by the cliff looking out at the estate. Thanks for watching and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel. Your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next.